5 seconds to go. Start. It is the essence of the matter that you know the work you are doing, and that is a very noble work, the work of transmission of the old culture to the new generation. There are two sides to the situation. There is the student, the boy and girl, and there are the things of culture, the things that human beings by their cultural efforts have made. They take different forms. They take the form of books, they take the form of songs, they take the form of buildings, they take the form of places, they take all sorts of forms. What forms would suit a particular boy is more than the boy immediately knows. It is your business to find out. It is your business to expose him to the various facets of the culture which is his culture and from which only he can be educated and see which part of the culture appeals to him more, for which part has he understanding, for which part has he a flair, and make use of that part in order to develop him. The rest can come as information because life imparts the information, but in order to build up, you have to harness his inclinations to the good of culture, which are incorporations of those learnings. And when you bring them together, the child begins to grow. The child begins to grow on those goods of culture by understanding them, by adding on to them, by amending them, by changing them, by appreciating them. He also becomes a cultured human being, and a cultured human being is the end of educational effort. What I am saying is easily said, is difficult to do, and I want you to do the difficult thing. Do not be satisfied with easy things. The easy thing is usually wrong, and in a process as complicated as education, the easy thing is more often than not wrong. Therefore, apply your mind to understanding the personality of the students, and apply your mind to the structure of the cultural goods which are the instrument of education, and try to find out the correspondence between the two and bring them together. You have to awaken this consciousness in him also, so that he approaches his problem as I am requesting you to approach yours. If that is done, education would be a different thing. It was mainly on account of this view of education that I was at a certain time responsible for advocating the scheme of basic education. I have been called the father of basic education. It is not a very proud thing to be a father of stillborn child, but in any case, one does one's best. Basic education, in my opinion, has not had a fair trial. Once at a conference, I said basic education failed, and people who are against basic education were overjoyed and said, "This man, who is supposed to be the author of basic education, confesses that basic education has failed, therefore, basic education is wrong." I never meant that. Basic education, in my opinion, is not wrong, and sooner or later our country will have to come to basic education, and I believe that it will come sooner rather than later. The education that we had been giving with which we are accustomed, this education cuts off the education from the life of the people. For a white collar job, as long as we had a few people to educate, a few hundreds, a few thousands, or a few million, that thing did good work, and some very fine minds were the product. But if we have to educate everybody in a people of billion, you cannot educate them in such a way as to take them off from the work. Then you all will starve. You will have all the philosophy in the world, but will have no food to eat and will have no clothes to wear. Why should anybody produce clothes for you if you can philosophies? Why should anybody produce food grains for you if you can philosophies? When we are few, our population was small number, people could devote themselves to philosophy because the others fed them and rejoiced in feeding them. In the circumstances as they are, you cannot take people away from their work. You have to make their work educative, because the work which is mechanical is not educative, and millions of our people are doomed to do mechanical work, just work which repeats itself, of which they do not know why they do. But if you can make their work educative, that is a process in which they learn to think and judge and select and choose, then you have made work into an educative process that we will have to do if we do not want to go under. And I do hope, as an optimist, that we will not go under, therefore, we will have to do it. Stop.